Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video came as a suggestion from one of my Patreon subscribers, so thank you for that. Probably because he saw some ridiculous photos online where people were saying that a falling satellite looked like a TIE fighter from Star Wars. And he thought of me. And when I saw what he sent, he wasn't wrong. It was pretty funny. But did this satellite actually look like a TIE fighter in real life? And what was this falling satellite, or the latest falling satellite, I should say, because I've covered quite a few things crashing back to Earth these days. Well, it turns out it was a satellite that has been up there doing its thing since the mid-90s. And apparently it did its thing beyond all expectations. So let's take a look at this TIE fighter satellite, actually known as ERS-2. The ERS-2, which stands for European Remote Sensing Satellite, was the second of two satellites launched on April 21st, 1995. It launched on the Ariane 4 rocket in French Guiana, and at the time, the ERS-2 satellite was considered the most sophisticated Earth observation spacecraft ever launched by the European Space Agency. It was tasked with monitoring natural disasters, scanning the polar ice caps, and generally helping us understand the complex global ecosystem. Together with the almost identical ERS-1, it provided invaluable long-term data on Earth's land surfaces, ocean temperatures, ozone layer, and polar ice extent that revolutionized our understanding of the Earth system. Originally just scheduled for a 3-year orbit, the satellite carried a suite of scientific instruments and technologies into orbit that collected data for more than 15 years. The ERS satellites also set the stage for many successor missions dedicated to studying our changing world, such as Invasat, the MET-OP weather satellites, ESA's Earth Explorer scientific research missions, and the Copernicus Sentinels, as well as many other national satellite missions. And the data this satellite collected all the way back in the 90s is still being used today. ESA's Heritage Space Program Manager, Mirko Albani, said ERS heritage data are still widely used today, mostly in combination with data from newer missions, as long-term data records essential for identifying and understanding changes to our climate. The mission is also a great example of how ESA pioneers new technologies that later become operational to support services, such as weather forecasting and climate monitoring, that benefit the citizens of ESA member states and people around the world. Having far exceeded its lifetime orbit of 3 years, ESA made the decision to deorbit ERS-2 in 2011. And this was in light of the growing concern of the long-term hazard that orbital debris poses to current and future space activities. And since 2011, the satellite's altitude has been steadily declining, oh so slowly, ever since. But this re-entry was going to have to be natural, as they say. All of its remaining fuel was depleted during deorbiting to reduce the risk of an internal malfunction, causing the satellite to break up into pieces at an altitude used by active satellites. But because of the depletion of the fuel, it was not possible to control ERS-2 at any point during the re-entry. The only force driving its descent was unpredictable atmospheric drag. And as we've discussed before, this was the best way to dispose of this satellite, given the way that it was designed in the 1980s. Focusing so much time and energy on how they were going to get these things up, they didn't spend so much time maybe thinking about how they were going to get them back down. And because the re-entry was natural, aka not controlled, it was difficult to predict how the satellite's final few hours in space were going to go. So ESA started posting photos on February 19th, documenting its final few days, and, well, the photos look like this. And the internet had an absolute blast with these images. And I gotta say, I think the internet got this one right. Alas, if you look at the ERS-2 in real life, it does look a bit different. In reality, the outline of the TIE fighter's wings are made up of the spacecraft's solar panel and active microwave instrument, which was once capable of capturing super high-resolution imagery of a 100-kilometer wide strip of Earth's surface from an orbital height of 800 kilometers. The cockpit, meanwhile, represents the main bulk of the 11-meter tall satellite. But at the right angle, It's pretty uncanny. Now, with today's standards, ESA's missions in Earth orbit are designed to have controlled re-entries. And during a controlled entry, spacecraft operators can ensure that the satellite returns to Earth in a sparsely populated region, such as the South Pacific. And in the meanwhile, ESA continues to make efforts to dispose of its older spacecrafts, such as ERS-2 and Aeolus, in more sustainable ways than originally planned. On February 21st, 2024, ERS-2 reached its critical altitude of 80 kilometers, at which point the atmospheric drag was so strong that it began to break up into pieces. And this video was taken of it flying over Italy just before it disintegrated. At approximately 1817 Central European Time, the satellite completed its atmospheric re-entry in the North Pacific Ocean, somewhere between Alaska and Hawaii. And according to the ESA, no damage to property has been reported. Once again, a spacecraft massively exceeding its original lifespan has left the ESA pretty pleased. Their director of Earth Observation Program, Simonetta Celli, said the ERS satellites have provided a stream of data which has changed our view of the world in which we live. They have provided us with new insights on our planet, the chemistry of our atmosphere, the behavior of our oceans, and the effects of mankind's activity on our environment, creating new opportunities for scientific research and applications. So aside from a slightly dodgy re-entry, it's pretty much been a hit. And it kind of warms my heart to see the internet having such a good time with this otherwise kind of unknown satellite. It kind of feels like those sweet videos where like the whole school finds out that the retiring janitor has actually been there for 60 years and they throw him like a big party on his way out. Kind of. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you to the member on Patreon who sent me that suggestion. It was a pretty good one. I had definitely missed all those photos. It also briefly led me down this rabbit hole of people who make these like long form videos of how unaerodynamic TIE fighters are and how they could absolutely never fly, which I found pretty funny, but we can dream, can't we? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or give me your favorite Star Wars quote. I'll pin mine to the top of the comments, if I remember. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.